so understandably so angry, pounding his fist on the floor, that at first I thought, oh no, did someone like cut him off? Did someone cheap shot him by accident there or whatever? And that's not what happened at all. He just stepped, he planted, and every former athlete, CC, which you are one of them, obviously, I saw a tweet out, Achilles, Achilles, Achilles. We're not reporting that, but when you saw that as somebody who's been through unfortunate injuries yourself, you thought what?
I thought the worst. It's a non-contact injury. It's every athlete's worst fear, every fan's worst nightmare, right? When your franchise player goes down with that type of injury in a consequential moment when your team is trying to defend the title, it hurts. And while I will acknowledge that the Knicks were firmly in control of the game, I will say this. The Knicks were up by 9 points after that breakaway dunk by OG Anunoby with 3 minutes left to go in the game. Mm-hmm. The Boston Celtics were shooting the lights out of the basketball. They made 18 threes, 12 in the first half. It was one of those games. So no lead was safe for the New York Knicks because of how the Celtics were shooting the ball. Again, I will acknowledge the Knicks were firmly in control, but to have that injury happen in that moment, it absolutely sucks. It's never a good moment to have a major injury or potentially a major injury like that, but especially in that moment, you're talking about Game 4, the Celtics trying to claw back into this series after going down 0-2 at home. Brilliant performance on Saturday in Game 3, and it followed it up with a masterpiece game by Jason Tatum, dropping a 40-burger in the Garden, potentially to tie the series up going back to Boston. And for it to end like that, it just mars what was an awesome game, competitive back and forth. I hate it for the Celtics. Most of all, I hate it for Jason Tatum.
Devastating. It's absolutely devastating. When he went down, you saw the visceral reaction and how much pain he was in. He looked like he was in agony. And when he went and grabbed the back of that ankle, we all thought the worst. And I absolutely hate it for Jason Tatum. I hate it for the Knicks. Rob's coming in the studio. And I just hate that it happened anytime, but I hate that it happened in that moment for him. And if you're the Boston Celtics, I don't know how you turn the page from this. Not only that you let the Knicks come back again and win this game, but the fact that everything they said after the game, it was just devastating from every single player. I just feel for Jason Tatum. I don't have any words right now, is what Jaylen Brown said. This is going to be really difficult for them to move on from.
No doubt. And here's the sad part about Boston's situation. You have new ownership that is facing a financial disaster when it comes to what they're going to do, the luxury tax, being in the second apron, how they're going to potentially retool this team. We looked at this year as a last dance scenario for the Boston Celtics as we knew them. The group that won a championship, we acknowledge that they can't keep this thing pushing beyond the 2024-2025 season. So for it to end this way with potentially a catastrophic injury to Jason Tatum, it's absolutely awful. Nobody wants to see this. It's what every basketball fan worries about, especially if you're in a scenario where the player might be dealing with something. Now, those were not the cards for Jason Tatum last night. It feels like a freak injury, the nature of it, but it just absolutely sucks that he's going to be off the court for Game 5, not have an opportunity to help his team try to fight back into this thing.
Joe Mazzulla, head coach of the Celtics, postgame on Tatum being carried off, unfortunately, last night.
Obviously, you're always worried about someone's health. So the fact that he had to be carried off, like you said, he's the type of guy that when he gets right up. So he didn't, and we'll know tomorrow exactly what it is. But it's tough to watch. A guy like him get carried off like that.
And also Tatum's tag team partner for however many years now, they've been amazing together. Jaylen Brown had this to say on losing Game 4 and Tatum getting hurt.
Tonight is tough. I think everybody's kind of in a loss for words just because, one, losing the game, but obviously the concern with JT. But we pick our heads back up tomorrow and go from there.
It's awful, obviously. And the sad thing is, if it is, again, I'm just talking, not reporting here on this, if it is what we think it could be of an Achilles injury, there's a very good chance his season next year is basically done with to a large part. and he's now added to a list of players that includes Dame Lillard and Kyrie Irving that probably are not going to play a lot next year. You have 3 guys that are Hall of Fame players that are already hurt for next year, unfortunately, in this spot. And we're talking about the Celtics, this being a last dance. How are they going to cut salary? And the question has to be asked. I mean, did we witness Tatum and Brown's last game together last night?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that there are other players that the Boston Celtics will look at trying to move on from. But if
you don't have him, everything changes for next year.
Well, yeah, everything changes for next year. I don't think that we're looking at the Boston Celtics as a title contender in 25-26. But there's a hell of a lot of runway with Tatum and Brown left to go. We're still talking about players in their mid-20s, late 20s. So I don't think that it's the end just because you're not going to have an opportunity to compete next year, or it seems like it's highly unlikely that you'll compete next year. I think we have to acknowledge that this is a moment for the Boston Celtics where they're going to have to retool. They're going to have to lean more into Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, and you're talking about them potentially looking to move off of Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis.
It probably makes it easier.
It feels like that's where this thing is headed anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it changes what we think about the core of the Boston Celtics moving forward, but I think it's clear that this is an inflection point for the franchise, and it's not just because they sold a team, it's because they have to deal with the catastrophic injury to Tatum. Now, that being said, series isn't technically over. The Boston Celtics are 8-2 without Jason Tatum in the lineup, but this is a different animal that we're talking about with the New York Knicks and how they're playing. And what we can't allow to happen is their performance to get lost in this, because this is the exact type of response that you're looking for from a team after having a letdown game at home in the Eastern Conference semis.
Yeah, but it's going to be really hard to turn that page. Think about the 3 losses that the Celtics have sustained in this series already. They're up in all of them, and the Knicks find a way. And this is with Jason Tatum out on the court for the majority of it and healthy. It's going to be really difficult for them to summon whatever they need to in order to come back and win this series. It's not over yet, but I would not be surprised if we see the Knicks close it out. Yeah. And then you have all these questions about what is the severity of the injury? How long is his future compromised? And with the financials with the Celtics, I don't want to say it's the last time that they've played together, but I'm also not taking it off the board.
Let's continue with that coming up, because even if they don't play, or even if they do play together again, the other guys around them are going to look a lot different than they looked last night. That last night, unfortunately, for the Boston Celtics may have been the last night of their dynasty. They're not a dynastic run, let's just say, of competitive run like this, conference finals and beyond, seemingly every single year. Dynasty was too strong, but you get what I'm saying with this. Like a horrible injury, obviously, to Jason Tatum. His